our bodies, we have 3 ways of sensing. And these are our ways that we interact with the world around us. We have interoception, which is perception of the internal sensations of the body. So for example, if we were to tune into our gut at various times in the day, we might experience nausea or hunger or butterflies in the stomach. These are examples of interoception. We also have proprioception, which you might hear about if you were to register for a personal training session or come to a dance class. Proprioception is our perception of our body in relation to the world around us. Where am I in relation to the things around me? What space do I occupy? So you might be experiencing your own proprioception when your balance is being challenged, or even when you have cold, clammy hands. And then finally, of our 3 ways of sensing, we have neuroception, which is the perception of my body's wellness via the nervous system. This is going to be our sweet spot for today. And this is instant, it's automatic, and it's subconscious, meaning that it is sitting below the level of consciousness. It's below my level of choice as well. It's more related to, am I safe or am I in danger? So to give us some baseline information on the nervous system, or Nervous System 101, the nervous system, anatomically speaking, is it's made up of 2 parts, okay? So physical location in the body, we have our central nervous system, which is made up of our brain and of our spinal column. And then we also have the peripheral nervous system, which is comprised of all of the other neural or nerve fibers that extend out from the spinal cord, innervating all other body parts. So my peripheral nervous system is just as much in my shoulder as it is in the tips of my fingers. We're going to focus more on the physiological aspects of the nervous system. Physiologically speaking, the nervous system is one system, but it has 2 very distinct subparts. So physiology, if we're not familiar, is the study of the body's function, okay? So this system is called the autonomic, notice how it sounds like automatic, nervous system. It controls all of the body's functions that happen whether or not I think about them. Breathing is going to occur whether or not I think about it. My heart's going to continue to beat. And that autonomic nervous system, we might call it ANS in this series, has 2 subparts. One is designed for acute stress, and one is designed for relaxation. We can also learn to control these autonomic states. But let's talk more about autonomic states and what they are. Your autonomic state is the filter through which you see and interact with the world. It's like living in different bodies depending on what state we're in. Our experience of life can be very different from one state to another. Our interpretation, enjoyment, even the experience of our 5 senses changes. We might have different responses to people, even people that we know, from one state to another. And there are 3 states of autonomic activation. And you can imagine a traffic light if it helps you conceptualize this. So a traffic light has green, yellow, and red. We're going to use these to represent the autonomic states. One of them will be relaxation, fight or flight, and the third is called the freeze response. We know a little bit less, scientifically speaking, about the freeze response, but it's also really important. So back to our traffic light. The green is the parasympathetic response. It's the response of, am I safe? Am I at ease? Here in this state, life is normal and we are relaxed. Note how I yoked normal and relaxed together, okay? Not always the case. The yellow on that traffic light is, am I in danger? It is a signal from the sympathetic nervous system that it's time to either make an escape or start fighting. The red light is a freeze response. We have perceived so much danger in this situation that my brain, my nervous system has ruled out being able to escape or being able to fight off the aggressor. It's not an option. I won't survive it. If our nervous system perceives that we won't survive the situation, and again, this is not choice-based, this is nervous system-based. We don't have control over this. If my body perceives that the threat level is so high that I won't survive, it shuts us down, okay? This is a subconsciously orchestrated thing that happens based on thousands of years of evolution. So let's backtrack and talk about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. And we're going to start with the sympathetic nervous system, and specifically stress. So this sympathetic nervous system is designed for acute stress. By acute, I mean short-term stress that has an ending point, a clearly defined ending point. This system is our body's immediate response to any threat, scare, challenge, anything along those lines. So activation of the sympathetic nervous response results in one of three things: fight, flight, or freeze, which is more nuanced. Not sure that we'll get to it today. But what happens in our bodies, and maybe you can recall a time where you were nervous to walk into a meeting, or the time that you averted a traffic accident. If you were to think back to that time, we experience an increase in blood pressure. We actually start to dump sugar into our blood. Does anyone have a guess about why that would happen? Why would I need sugar in my blood if there's something challenging happening?
It's for energy.
Yeah, I need fast energy. We also start to shut off some of the functions that we don't need immediately. So we start to experience a contraction of the blood vessels in the skin and in the intestines. Why would the intestines shut down?
To save energy.
To save energy, because I don't need to digest food and have a good BM if I'm dead. And it's true. I mean, this is the truth. This is the truth of our biology as human beings, and animals are also subject to this as well. It suppresses immune function. It shuts down reproduction. It actually also decreases bone activity. So these are things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to feel, but certainly on the level of blood pressure getting jacked up and the blood vessels in your skin contracting so that you go white as a sheet, those are things that are real life happening. And the sympathetic nervous system activation was a necessary function of the autonomic nervous system from when we had to run to protect ourselves or fight to feed our families. Stress is completely normal, and the ability for our body to trigger this stress response is also normal, and it remains 100% necessary even today. So let's talk about the flip side of that. So that was the sympathetic and stress. We're going to talk about the parasympathetic nervous system and relaxation. This is the counterpart, or the paramour, of the sympathetic nervous system. This is the part of the ANS that's designed for relaxation, aka rest and digest. It is a group of physiological and hormonal changes that cause a decrease in the activity of the sympathetic nervous system. We call this downregulation. This downregulation is a name given to the occurrence of all of these physiological changes. You can think of the PNS as the dimmer switch of the ANS. we have a lot of important benefits that we get from being able to downregulate and just chill out. We will experience an increased activity of intestines and glands. Our sphincters relax. Sphincters are those circular muscles. We have them in our lips. We also have them in other things south of the border. Our digestion resumes. Blood pressure and heart rate return to normal. If you have been someone who has been struggling with digestion or even struggling to conceive, you might consider taking a relaxation class. Maybe a yoga class, not the kind where you're whipped through poses, but the one where they make you lie down. On the savannah, which is the type of living that humans were designed for, we would perceive a stressor, but then we would return to normal. So the issue isn't stress. Presently, our issue is the imbalance of stress in our day-to-day life. And we have two imbalanced states of stress. Those are severe acute stress and chronic stress. And when these get turned on so frequently, the body might not return to normal. It stays in that physiological state of hyperarousal. It stays amped up and ready for the fight, or ready to be running away as fast as you can. And so what happens is that this PNS is not functioning properly, or it's rarely, if ever, turned on and used in the first place.